Hello, everybody. I just wanted to welcome you guys to Mapping Your Network. My name is Naomi Mack, and I'm a local filmmaker and actress. Today, we have Miss Brandi Payne, who's going to be joining us. I also want to say a big thank you to National Black Arts for putting together this virtual session so that we could all learn a bit more about how to use our networks and leverage them in order to create more resources for our own projects. And I'm excited to get started. So, Brandi, hello, hello.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here. Yes, my name is Brandi Nicole Payne. I am a girl from all over. I mean, originally I'm from California, but I have lived in Vegas. I've lived in Houston. I've spent some time in Atlanta. Probably going to be going back one of these days. And right now I'm currently in Memphis. So I'm all about the travel life, although not right now because it's COVID.
Right.
But I'm a writer, actor, filmmaker, and I'm excited to be here.
Nice. Well, yes. So obviously, we're going to talk today about networking and just seeing how it has played a big role in our journeys thus far. As you mentioned, you're a writer, filmmaker, actress. So you do a lot of different things. But how would you say that networking has played a role to get you to where you are today?
Sure. Networking has played a huge role in getting where I'm at. And that's because I think the biggest component to my success thus far, well, I won't say the biggest, but I'll say an equal sort of half has been my tribe. Because obviously you have to do the work first and foremost. I want to be very clear about that. You have to do the work. But in doing the work, you also have to find your tribe. And that is for two reasons. One, for business purposes, because as you rise, they rise, but also for just community. this is
Yeah.
a this is a this can be a tough business. It's something that if you are going to jump into it, just prepare it for the long haul. Yes, there are some people who are overnight successes, but they are few and far between. So you really want to have like your group of people who are going to keep you going and keep you encouraged when you're having your bad days. I've had many conversations. I've actually never wanted to like quit, even though I have had tough days. But I've
Mhm.
definitely been the friend who's had to talk other friends off the ledge. Like, no, you are too good. Your scripts are so great. They just don't know. We're gonna keep it going. What are we doing next? So yeah, so networking has been a huge part of not only helping me to book work, but also in just keeping me grounded and keeping me sane and really helping me to like narrow in on why I do this, why I consider myself a storyteller. So whatever medium it is, we're here to tell stories. Why it is that I want to tell my stories. And so I think when you're like trying to put together your network, one of the things that you really sort of have to keep in mind is this person in alignment with me and my ideals and my vision and my trajectory? Like, are we um are we vibing? Are we trying to go the same direction? Are they approaching the work in a way that even if their process is different, do they still sort of respect the work the
Mhm.
way
Have the same
that?
values.
Yeah, exactly. Is their work ethic, is this a match? And that can sort of go two ways. Like, I know some people who on one end, they're really, really talented. Like, I mean, they're really talented where, I mean, both acting or writing, but the work ethic sucks. It's like, yeah, you're booking, but do you know what you could be doing if you really like took some classes, or if you really started reading scripts more often, if you really put in some effort? So that's on the one side. Then on the other hand, I know some people who I love them and they will go to all the networking events, but we got to work on the craft too. So it's kind of got to go hand in hand.
Yeah, no, you touched on a lot of things just then with like creating your tribe and making sure that you have a group of people that you can depend on and like that have your back throughout this whole journey. I know that's been very important for me as well, with even wanting to create more films on the directing side or writing side, transitioning from acting, just like you said that you do as well. And just having those people that I could just call on like that, because I've worked with the same people over and over throughout the years or whatever the case is. So you've had a couple projects that have been in international festivals. And of course, you have your film that is on Issa Rae's YouTube platform, Muted. So you have a lot of different projects that you've done. And I guess I want to know more about how you came to put these together. Like when you're transitioning from acting to now doing your own films, I think sometimes it's hard for people to like get the resources. And I think that's where the connections and then, the resources come together. So how would you say that you were able to get that started?
That's a great question. So Muted was my first short film. I will say before I did Muted, and I'm bringing this up for a reason. I did a web series called Diary of a Wedding Planner. You're not gonna be able to find it. You could look. You're not gonna find it.
I couldn't find it.
But I bring that up because we had a really good time making it, but I learned so many lessons with that web series. Where I wrote it, I first tried to crowdfund. I tried to raise $10,000. I raised like $1,500. So obviously that wasn't a successful crowdfunding campaign. And it wasn't good, but it was good because I met key collaborators who I've continued to work with again and again and again. I learned a lot of things. I had a wonderful time doing it. And so then when I wrote Muted, I took some of those same lessons. Number one, instead of crowdfunding alone, I decided to crowdfund with a team. So again, finding your tribe. And so my producing partner at the time, well, she's still one of my good friends, and we're still producers, just not partners per se. But Kara Tomicevic, we produced Muted together, and having her, because there were definitely times where I was like, we're never gonna make this movie, because we like went into it thinking, okay, we're gonna make it for 5,000, and then it was like, okay, maybe we'll make it for 10,000, and even that was like, I ain't got no $10,000. So right. Where is this money coming from? We're gonna have to crowdfund, and I will tell you, and not that this has to be the case for every movie or every project, but it ended up being a $20,000 film because of the fact that we ended up casting certain people. We ended up having a bigger crew, wanting certain equipment, wanting to use certain locations. And so because it happened to be this bigger thing, the budget got bigger. We still spent that money very responsibly, so it's not like it was out of control or anything, but we crowdfunded on Kickstarter. We raised $18,000 on Kickstarter, and after the campaign was over, we had additional funds come in for people who really believed in the project, which for those who don't know, Muted is a short film that is about a young Black teenage girl who goes missing and how her mother struggles to get the media and law enforcement to care because she's Black. And so we shot that over a weekend in LA. Honestly, I mean, I will just never forget, as we were shooting, we just did not want it to end. And it wasn't, we had been on sets before, but it was knowing that we had made this from the ground up. Like, I love acting. I really, really do. But there's something about creating your own thing and having a hand in, like, this is in my head, to now this on the page, to now we are putting the building blocks together to have content. And so, it was an amazing, it was incredible. I acted in that, produced it, and we hired a director named Rachel Goldberg. She did a wonderful job. And once we were done with post-production, we submitted it to the American Black Film Festival. And as a result of that, they only accept 5 short films each year. And so we were one of the 5. We won that competition. And as a result, thank you. HBO is their key sponsor, one of their main sponsors. And so as a result, our film was acquired on HBO. And so people got to see it there. And then we submitted it to Issa Rae, because she, for those who don't know, she, on her YouTube channel, she does Issa Rae's short film Sundays. And so there was no there's no fee to submit, but that opened it up to, a large audience. Don't get me wrong, like, we know HBO, yes, is huge. But what having on Issa's platform was like, it's like on the ground. You know what I mean? It's, first of all, it's free, which is a thing. So it's free.
accessible.
Yeah, it's accessible, and our people love her because she just feels like us. You know what I mean? She represents us. So having her there, our work got to be introduced to a broader audience, which was wonderful. And people, so every once in a while, I'll go to her YouTube page and just read the comments, because unfortunately, I mean, we made that in 2014, and unfortunately, it's still as relevant now as it was then. So that was my first sort of big project. At that time, I didn't think I wanted to direct. As a matter of fact, I told my friends I didn't. I was like adamant, which is why I didn't direct that. But I started to get the itch. I started to wonder, like, in the TV world, the writer is king, but in the film world, director is king, and king, queen, whatever. And
Right.
so I started wanting. I basically had written a short called Aloha, and every time I would think about somebody else directing it and having that control, I was like, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can. And so I chose to direct it, and it was a wonderful experience. A lot of the people that worked on Muted, we got to work with again for Aloha, and then we met some new collaborators, and we had, like, it was a dream. When it was over, everybody was hugging. We were all like sad that it was over, because it was just such a community, and it just made me like sad that film can be so expensive to make, because it just made me want to do it more. But it's pricey. It can be pricey.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, like when you have that tribe, it sounds like because you guys created such a loving, like just familial sense I was gonna say on screen, on set.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys like were able to keep building from there, and that's how everything, like going forward, you have, oh, this person and this person and this person that you can just simply rely on and call into.
Absolutely. And that yes. And that's why I think one thing that people kind of get wrong, and I did too when I first got in this business, was that, like, oh, in LA, it's all about nepotism in Hollywood. And, and yes, there is some of that, don't get me wrong. But what I've learned is that once you work with people, and again, not only do you see their work ethic, but you also just see, like, your processes, your tastes, your sensibilities, that if they gel, you want that again, because again, this stuff costs money, and more than money, it costs time. Like, I married with kids, so like if I'm on set, I'm being recorded, you have to leave. I'm so sorry.
Kids, you're like,
yes,
right,
let me pause.
That's funny.
Of course, right when I start talking about being married, life, right? Where was I? So yes, okay. So if I'm gonna be on set and away from my kids, away from my family or my loved ones, I want to be spending that time around people that I want to be around, around people that I want to work with. Like, honestly, with Aloha, there were some positions that the people that I hired had like a less impressive resume than others that I had interviewed, but I got such a good feeling and a good reading from them that I was like, oh no, I will take them in a heartbeat versus this other person, because you're spending, anywhere from 8 to 12, sometimes 14 hours on set. You want to be with people who, like, we're in the ship together. It's not going to be no crazy attitudes. We have a common goal. We're all trying to elevate each other's art. We're all trying to learn from each other. Like, that's what you want. So yeah, so you're surrounding yourself with the right people is important.
Yeah, I mean, that reminds me of like all the networking events back in the day, where I feel like, especially people that are just starting out, go into it with these, business cards in hand, and they're just passing them out to anybody, they'll take them. And it's just not the same when you actually take the time and, like you said, go off of the feeling of alignment. Like when you meet these people and you're like, okay, like we're clicking, like there's something there that's so much more important than, like you said, a resume or like something that they've done in the past. And you'll just take that instantly, because on set, like you said, you want to enjoy this time. Like it is forever and a day that you're on set, and just like it makes it that much easier to do.
Yeah, yes. And there are going to be moments where you may not be at your best, like you're irritated, things don't work out, and that's okay. Everyone understands that. But when you have that, and then on top of that, somebody is just like being rude, it's just like,
Yeah.
no, that's not, like, you remember that. And so, since I learned some of those lessons with certain people that I worked with before with Aloha, it was so different because we were so intentional. I've learned, I mean, it's still something that I have to work on, but I've definitely learned to trust my gut. And if something is telling me to veer, I'm not going to question it. It doesn't matter how much of a name they are, how much of a whatever. Your gut is there, your intuition is there for a reason, and you really do have to learn to sort of you really have to learn to listen to that, because at the end of the day, what do they say? It takes the same amount of time to make a bad movie as a good one. So if we're spending that time anyway, like, let's just have good vibes.
Yeah, no, that's such a great point about following your intuition, because I feel like that's what's helped me through this whole journey of like figuring out how to market myself in this industry, how to just show up in this industry, and how to present. Because I think a lot of the times we look around in the film industry and we're like, okay, like, well, this is what's popular, so maybe I need to do it like this, or maybe I need to like craft my things like this, or like, I think just that lesson of being authentic and really showing up as yourself, you're gonna naturally align with the people that you're supposed to. And like you said, kind of just like starting out, putting yourself out there with your first web series, the people that, see something in that, they're gonna be drawn to you and you're gonna be drawn to them. So it's just gonna keep building from there.
Yes. And that's reminds me of a point that I wanted to make sure that I brought up today, which is, networking laterally versus vertically. Like, it's great if you meet someone who is higher up and who you think might put you on. I'm gonna tell you, like, 9 times out of 10, they're not gonna have the power to do that, or the time, or even if they do, like, you don't know how many other people are trying to get put on by them as well. You know what I mean? So my goal when I meet somebody who's in they're further along, I'll say, on their career path than I am, is just to see, first of all, again, do we even seem like we gel? And then if we do, then that's the start of a relationship. And that's it. Like, it may not ever lead to anything, but if it does, because we vibe, fantastic. But in terms of like networking where something concrete can develop out of it, 9.9 times out of 10, that's going to be with your peers. That's going to be with those people who are at your level or one step above or one step below, because you guys are all rising together. You're the ones who are like sharing each other's scripts, swapping scripts, giving each other feedback, doing table reads for one another, helping out on their set when they're making their film, and they're helping out on your set, or you're cooking for them. Like that, sometimes because I do have kids, I can't always be on set for people's stuff, but I can send. I love to bake, so I can make cookies for their crafty, or whatever you can give to let your people know that, like, hey, I see what you're doing. I know it's not easy, girl, fam, whoever. I got you just like you got me. And then supporting them and watching their stuff when it comes out on whatever platform that may be. So I think that's the one thing that I try to, especially for people who are like just starting and they want to, like, can you introduce me to so-and-so? And I'm like, first of all, I don't like, for example, Chandra Wilson was in Muted. And so people will be like, oh, do you think she could put me on Grey's Anatomy? I'm not even asking her to put me on Grey's Anatomy. No, that's not how this works. Like, get in a writer's group. If you're not a writer, because not every artist is, that's fine. If acting is your bread and butter, then make yourself available by doing table reads for your writer friends. But like, give. Don't be a taker. Be someone who reciprocates. Be someone who is down to help in whatever way that you can. Don't overextend yourself, but that's going to get you so much further than trying to look to somebody to put you on.
Right. And even like in that same breath, like helping out on somebody else's set, or like you said, even if it's just baking cookies or transcribing their documentary stuff, like you learn so much from that experience outside of just like what, I'm saying, what they ask you to do. It's like just from being a part, you're able to take so much of that back to your own stuff. So in a sense, you're giving, but you're always receiving no matter what you're doing.
Every set that you're on, you're learning something. You're either learning what to do or what not to do, but you're learning something, and so that's that, and it's invaluable. The other thing is you're expanding your network, because if you're working on someone's set, even if it is to be as a PA to help them. PAs are essential. We need them.
We
And
cannot do
you can, yes, it doesn't, it is a whole machine, and it doesn't run without all the different parts. That's not to say that you have to have a huge crew. Some people have projects, have projects that are contained enough where you can have a skeleton crew. I haven't had a project like that so far, but I'm not opposed to that in the future if I were to write one or want to be a part of one. But however your setup is, like, all of these parts matter, all these parts are important. And if you're doing a good job and you have a good attitude, people notice that. They will remember you, and not just remember you for their next thing, but they will refer you out to others. So yeah, keep them, yes. And also for people to know that, like, people will call you, even if you don't put a certain person down as your recommendation. If they see that you worked on a film, they know that person, they will ask. And people will be honest. I've had people tell me things about people where I'm like, oh, I know they didn't know that this is going to be said about them. This is good to know. And that's not to say that you have to trust your gut, because you have to sort of parse things out, whether or not you want to believe that someone else's experience with that person will be your own. You sort of have to decide that. But your reputation will precede you, is my point. So you want to do good work, and you want to do it with a good heart.
Yeah.
That will get you so far. That will get you so far. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that also reminded me of just like, I think a lot of times if you're doing something when it comes to budgets, like you said, not everybody's going to have that time to crowdfund, or even, I guess, that knowledge to do it. So if you're working off of just your own coins, I think that is most importantly where those people come in handy, because it could be something as simple as like, dang, I just really need audio for this and I don't have that. And that one person, or you may know somebody that knows somebody else, and just having that web of interconnected people where you can just have that dialogue, ask questions.
To have it done. And I mean, and what a lot of people do, I don't do this because I just don't have the time, but because they don't have the money, they'll learn the skill. So, a lot of filmmakers will edit. I cannot edit to save my life. So I don't even try, I don't. It's not my thing. I pay for it. That's what it is. But if you're not going to pay for it, then you either need to have the time to learn yourself, and the grace and the patience to be kind to yourself as you're figuring this out, or B, manage your expectations so that you can pay for what you can afford to pay for. I think that's like another thing too when you're filmmaking, is like managing your expectations, because we all sort of have these visions for what our ambition is and what we want our projects to be. But it's step by step by step by step, and your work does get better with each project. But if you are operating under your own coins and your budget is $300, it's $300. Make that stretch and make the best $300 film you can make.
Exactly. I feel like we hit on so much. I'm trying to think of anything that.
Well, okay, there's one thing I will say that is very COVID time specific. So right now I didn't mention this earlier, but right now I'm the writer's assistant for a show called Happy Face, which will be on CBS All Access. That room is in Los Angeles, but I am in Memphis, Tennessee. And so I would just say that is terrible, truly terrible, as this pandemic has been in so many ways to our community specifically. The one area that I am seeing the silver lining, I'll say, is that writers' rooms at the moment are open. You can be anywhere in this world. and work in a writer's room. The writer's room can be in LA or New York. Most of them are. And you can be wherever. I mean, as long as, you know, you don't mind the time difference, as long as you don't mind, as long as you can work on, you know, PST time, you can do it. You can put your hat in the ring. And that just never, that was not an option. You know, I always wanted to be a TV writer. That is definitely what I'm working towards. But it was always like, okay, I'm going to have to move back to LA, which the whole reason why we left LA is because we had a third child and it was becoming too expensive for us to live comfortably. And so, you know, it was always like, okay, when do I go to LA and try to like get staffed? And then I'm going to have to be there first and then they can follow me. And it was always this, it was challenging. I'll say that. And at the moment, that does not exist because at the moment, as long as you can do the work and as long as you can shine in that interview, you can have a job. You do need to have excellent Wi-Fi. I will say that. So I did have to upgrade. Yeah, I had to upgrade my Wi-Fi. Did have to do that. But it's been worth it. And so, you know, I really, really hope, I mean, now, like I used to when I would hear about writer's assistant gigs or staff writing gigs, I would only tell my friends who were based wherever those rooms were, which was like 95% LA, a handful in New York, and like every once in a while, one in Atlanta. Right. And now I can send it to whoever. And so I have been, because I'm just like, this is the time. This is the time to, as long as they're opening it up to us, we have the access right now. We should take advantage of that. Yeah. I don't know what that will mean for us once things go back to quote unquote normal. I mean, who even knows?
It's so convenient. This is just so convenient. I feel like it has to stay somewhere in this
somewhat. Yeah. Even like the writers in my room, they have talked about how they like they do miss the room dynamics and they do plan to have an in-person room, but they would like to have a hybrid in the future. And so yeah, and so who knows? There may be, hopefully there will continue to be opportunities for people who live outside of LA or New York to have those inroads because just speaking of your network again, like work begets work, begets work, begets work. And so, you know, right now I just want to be clear, this is an assistant job. I'm not on staff.
For now, yeah.
For now, yes. I was lucky enough to be given half an episode, me and another assistant. So we have an episode that we are splitting, which is a huge blessing. We're very thankful. And if we do a good job, then all of those writers in that room will think of us as they are getting asked, you know, do you know of any lower level writers who are interested, who'd be a good fit? And so that's, I think I used to think that like one thing would be my big break. And again, that does happen sometimes. But for me, and honestly, for most of the people that I know, it's not one big break. It is this leads to this, leads to this, leads to this, sometimes leads to this over here. So I'm still going this way versus this way, but it all builds and it all expands your network. And it's our job to nurture that network, which can be challenging sometimes. Like so the way I do it, I have an Excel sheet, a Google Doc that has all of the execs that I've had general meetings with, like who I met with, what studio or network, what we talked about of note, and then I have to follow up with them. Now, I don't follow up with everyone because not everyone, you don't click like that with everyone.
Yeah.
But, you know, the ones that I do click with, the ones that really responded to my material, and then we met, because it's kind of like dating a little bit. When you meet, you like get a vibe and you're like, okay, I would like to work with you on a show one day. Yeah. Those are the people who like, okay, it's been 6 months. I should send them an email just to, even if I don't have anything work related, I mean, hopefully in 6 months I have something work related, you know, to share. But, you know, if you don't, then it's like, okay, I can ask them how they're doing. Reading. Yeah, just checking in, reading the trades. I have I don't read the trades every day because it can feel like anxiety for me. Like, oh my God, all this stuff is happening. What am I doing? So I don't read it every day. But when I do read it, if I come across something that I know someone involved in some way, I'll send them a quick email or text. Hey, just saw the news. Congratulations. Because you know, that, I mean, first of all, it makes them feel good, but it's
Yeah.
also reminding them that you exist, that you're here. And it's again about nurturing that network. Because if you're just, you had mentioned like the person who just passes out their card, if you
Yeah.
do that and then you don't follow up with it, honestly, it's going to go in the recycle bin. That was a waste of your time.
Everybody does that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, got to nurture your network.
Hmm. That's beautiful. So important. Let's see. Okay. I feel like we've, oh,
I know we've covered so much, huh?
so yeah, it's been such a good talk.
Let me ask you, because you said
Yeah.
you're from Atlanta, or you've lived in Atlanta since you were in 7th grade.
Uh-huh.
What has that been like, seeing sort of the boom? Because my only introduction to Atlanta was, I moved out there in 2016. And
Mhm.
for me, coming from LA to Atlanta, even though, you know, there's crazy auditions in LA, but at the level that I'm at, which is like the co-star and recurring level,
Mhm.
I had more auditions in Atlanta in 2 weeks than I had
Yeah.
had my 7 years in LA.
No,
So
that's exactly it. I think that we are, I mean, we've gotten this like, uh, not name, but we're known for like the co-star city, like in the reoccur, that is the space for us, like just because, like, generally speaking, of course, there's
sure,
some people that get the lead roles and things like that, but
sure,
generally speaking, it's the co-stars, it's the guest stars, sometimes the reoccurring. And I think that has been, there's so much of it out here though. So you can constantly work out here and constantly audition in that realm. And I think for me, at least, it's been building and building. Like I started out on Queen Sugar with a co-star. But even that was just such an amazing time. And I feel like I got that opportunity from being a stand-in working on Being Mary Jane before that.
okay,
And it just so happened that I got to work with all the directors that were on, for the 10 episodes, there was 10 different directors or whatever. And I got to work with all of them as her stand-in, but it wasn't like a regular stand-in where you're just like standing here and like I literally got to rehearse with Michael Ealy and like sit
mhm,
in and like, really talk to everybody and be with the camera crew and learn all the different positions. So I think I remember Kat Candler. She was one of the amazing directors on the show, who's now producing, and now
I know
directing.
Kat.
She's
Yes,
amazing.
yeah,
And she's just one of those people, like you said, that has like that spirit and that energy of just being so loving. And like she creates the type of set that is like not the norm in Hollywood.
yeah,
So it's just amazing to be around that and to see the example of being like, okay, so you can be a kind, loving person on
and
set,
work.
running the show, and still get things done how they're,
Yeah,
what I'm saying? So it was just
absolutely.
so good to see that. But yeah, like I said, it just kept building from there. And you just never know. Like you mentioned earlier, everything is like a building block. Even the things that, because like I wouldn't have thought anything would happen from me being a stand-in. I just was like, I was in New York at the time. I had no money. I was like, I need a job. I love being on set. Like you said, I love being behind the camera, even more so than being in front of the camera most of the time. So I was just like, well, wow, I get to be on set for 6 months every day and I get to get
Get
paid.
paid.
Like, what?
Yeah,
What do you mean? Yes, I'm there.
yeah,
And like you just never know what can happen from and who you'll meet or like who will remember you from the things and the,
mhm,
like you said, from the encounters that you have. So it's really important to, like you said, just like continue to nourish and nurture those relationships where you feel a connection with people or you admire the people that you're working with, and let them know how you feel
yeah,
about them when it's genuine, because they will appreciate that. And I think they'll remember you
absolutely.
even more.
That is awesome. I just have to shout out real fast Regina Wesley from Queen Sugar.
Oh
She is
God, yes.
a we went to
Regina.
high school together. So yes, she
Honestly,
is doing her thing. She's
she
fantastic.
is. She just I just did another short in LA with Robin Cloud. Hey. But she Regina Wesley was executive producing it with her. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, so it's just
And what's the
again,
name of that short?
that one is $2. $2.
That's why you look familiar. I saw it. It's like, wasn't it AFI? I think
Yes,
AFI.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yes, that
That's
short
so
was
funny.
hilarious. Oh,
Yeah,
that's so
she's amazing.
great.
And that was just another person. I was just like, girl, like whatever you do, if I need to transcribe, I don't care. I'm in Atlanta, but I will do whatever you need. I
Yes.
want to work with you on like your future scripts
When
because she's
you
just so
meet
good.
artists who who do good work and they treat people well. They treat
That
you
part.
like a human, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, you do. You want to work with them again and again and again. And that's not to say that you won't give other people chances, but like those are going to be the people that you go to first because you
Yeah.
know they can deliver for you and you know you're not going to have because there's always going to be some kind of drama because you're making movies and things don't
Yeah.
always
That's
go
the
the way they're
nature.
supposed to. So like yeah, that's just the nature. So you don't need extra drama on top of that kind of drama. You know what I mean? If there's gonna be any kind of drama, it should just be that sort of thing. You know, just
Yeah.
whatever fires. If we have to put out fires, I know I have the people around me that's gonna put out these fires
Mhm.
together, and then we're gonna
Mhm.
put out some fire content,
And
and
we're
that's
gonna
gonna
have
be what
fun
happens.
doing it.
Yes, yes, exactly. So, oh, that's so great. Oh,
I
I'm
know.
so glad to hear that. $2 was, yeah. I hope everyone watching watches it. It was
Yeah.
it's a great
Yeah, I'm
show.
sure she'll be. I know she's doing a lot of festivals right now, but I'm pretty sure it'll be out soon for everybody to watch. Because
That's
I can't wait to
fantastic.
see what else she creates. Because Robin is just all the barriers. I feel like she's just so authentic, and it's great. So
This is the time. This is the
yeah,
time of breaking barriers. I mean, now we got a black woman in the White House. So hey,
right.
like they say, you can't tell us nothing right now. No, you
Nope.
cannot. So yeah, I'm really glad. I'm glad that they're doing this. I mean, even this, the being asked to be a part of this conversation,
Mhm.
um, amidst all the craziness of our country.
Right.
I'm really glad that we got to take some time to do that and that this is a celebration. The work still continues, but
Yeah.
things are changing. Praise God. So I feel hopeful about 2021. We do still have a long way to go. Even in our industry, we still have
Yeah.
a long way to go. Color of Change put out the statistics, and I think it said that like 86% of writers' rooms are white, and
Oh yeah, I did see that.
that needs to
Mhm.
change.
Mhm.
But I do appreciate the efforts of the people and the organizations and the institutions who are working towards that change and who are trying to amplify our voices and who are trying to get behind our content and get behind our creators because representation matters. And not only does representation matter, but like we have proven that we will watch us. We will watch us.
Yeah.
So
And
from
we
a
want it. We
business
need
point,
it. Like yes.
makes sense.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's my
There's
two
no
cents.
excuse anymore.
There's no
There's no
excuse.
excuse. Well, great. This has been so good.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to just follow your journey and see where else you're headed, where you're going, and what you do.
Thank
So,
you.
how can everybody that's watching this kind of keep tabs on you or check you out?
Sure. So they can go to my website, which is brandytellsstories.com, Brandy with an I. Or you can follow me on social media on everything. I am creatively B. Instagram is like my platform of choice, but
Yeah,
all of
same.
them creatively B.
Great. Okay, perfect. Well, thanks again to National Black Arts for hosting this amazing, amazing virtual session. I'm sure there'll be more to come. So, we'll see you guys
Thanks.
soon.
Bye.